We're going to go ahead and talk about safety around the horses, safety for yourself, but also safety for your rider. So horses, average horse weight, Bo weighs about 1,100 pounds. So one thing to think about is where our feet are in perspective. So if I'm standing here, this is not a safe spot for my foot to be because if Bo steps on my foot, it's going to hurt. So you want to make sure that your feet are a good distance away from your horse. If for some reason you would get stepped on, one thing that you don't want to do is try and pull your foot out from underneath your horse's hoof. That'll do a little bit more damage, but if you just lean on their shoulder, he'll pick his foot right up and step off. Horses have blind spots, so their eyes are on the side of their head. They actually only see on the sides. They can't see directly in front of them, and they can't see directly behind their tail. So the safest place if you have to go from one side to another is always around the front of the horse so the horse can turn to see you. If you do have to go around the back of the horse, you want to stay far back away, or you want to have your hand on your horse as you go closely behind to make sure that they know where you are and you don't startle them when you get to the other side and they see you. Horses really kind of show their expressions, show what they're thinking, what they're looking at on their face. So you really want to be aware of what's going on with their ears, their eyes, and their mouth. Right now, Bo is relaxed. His ears are off to the side. You can tell his ear is facing me, so he's listening to me right now. With his ears forward like he just did, I know he's actually not paying attention to me. Where those ears are pointed or what he's paying attention to. So just be aware of that. If a horse's ears are pointed forward and they're distracted, talk to them as you walk up to them. So I'm going to say, "Hi, Bo," and then I'm not startling him as I touch him. If his ears would go flat back on his head, that they're upset about something. So if you're up by a horse that is pinning their ears or you have a rider there, make sure that you step you and your rider away until those ears relax back to the side. Their mouth and nose tell us a lot too. They'll scrunch up their mouth. They'll show their teeth if they're upset. So again, just watching that expression to know if you need to step away. Never let you or your rider go underneath your horse's neck. That's just not safe. It's a blind spot for them as well. And their big jowls here, if you get hit in the head, is going to hurt. So always make sure you go under the cross ties to get to the other side. Part of safety with these guys too is not being up close and personal in their face. So if I walk up to him and I'm like, "Hey, Bo," think about if somebody walked up to you and put their hands on your face to say hi. It's a little awkward and you'd probably be a little standoffish, and the horses are going to be like that too. And a lot of times, if we continue to do that, they're gonna end up starting to bite because they don't like you in that space. So remember, if you're going up, you or your student, to touch or say hi to the horse, make sure you're going up to the shoulder and neck and not at the face. So one of the things a sidewalker might be asked to do is help get reins for the leader. So these are where we keep our reins over here on this side of the tack room. These are our rainbow reins. They're probably our most commonly used reins. Our ladder reins here, and our adjustable grip handled reins here. We also have some leather reins that we use, but if you ever have a question, if somebody asks you, don't hesitate to ask and we can kind of show you and describe what they are. Over here are our treats. Our riders love to give our horses treats. The treats that are in this tub here and this tub here are good for any of our horses. We do have a couple of horses that have some dietary restrictions. They can't have any sugar, so they can't have like peppermints and apples and carrots. If we have some of that stuff here, just make sure that you're asking the instructor, the leader, if it's okay for a horse to have those before they give them. Helmet fitting, that's one of the things that you'll help out with as a sidewalker. You'll greet the riders and then get a helmet put on them. So we want to talk about how to fit the helmet to make sure that our riders are safe. So we have a couple helmets here. We're going to start with this one, and we're going to try it on and see if it fits me. One thing I want to comment is if the riders come with any type of headbands or like a hat, if it's cold out, those need to come off, because if they're on, the helmet's not going to fit right and could potentially come off in an accident. So we're going to take that off, and we're going to put this helmet on. So a lot of our helmets have cranks on them, so they're adjustable, but you want to crank that all the way out, and then we're going to put this on. Now, if you look at this helmet, it's already down over my eyes, so I'm going to have a hard time seeing when I ride. I can fit my hands in the side. If I tip my head, it's going to fall off very easily. Even with this one with a crank on it, I can tighten it tight, but it doesn't fit as I can fit my fingers in the side, so it's going to come off still pretty easily. So this one isn't fitting, so we're going to try another one. So I'm going to put this one on. Okay, this one fits me really well. It goes just to my eyebrows, just a little above. It fits down on my ears. It's tight to my head. There's no gaps. If I tip my head upside down, it's not coming off. The strap is just an extra safety precaution. The strap is not what holds the helmet on. And when you go to do the strap for your rider, make sure that you put your fingers in between so that you don't pinch the rider when you clip it, because I promise you, if you pinch the rider when you clip it, they probably won't let you put a helmet on them again. So, but that's nice and snug and not moving around on my head, and that's how a helmet should fit. Lovely hairstyle today. We're just thinking about kids that might come in with their ponytails on top of their head, and that's going to make it so that helmet doesn't fit right onto their head. So you may need to make an adjustment with the ponytail. Either take the ponytail out and give the ponytail holder to the parent, or you can just ask them if they can move it to a lower ponytail. Like that, so that when we put our helmet on, that ponytail isn't obstructing the helmet fit or the way that it sits. Okay, so now that we've got our rider into the arena, some of the things that you might be responsible for as a sidewalker is keeping your rider occupied. Usually we'll have 3 to 4 riders in a lesson, and so you're going to have 3 to 4 riders plus your sidewalkers here. And some of the riders get a little impatient while they wait to mount. So some of the things that you can do is we have one group that'll do Ring Around the Rosie, or if you have a very active rider, you could even walk them through the pattern that we're going to be going through for that evening of lessons. But Kaylee is our sidewalker today, and Lene is our rider. So what I would do as the instructor is I'm just going to verify and check the helmet fitting, that everything's right. And then I'm going to head up the mounting block, and Kaylee is going to bring her rider to me. How are you doing today, Lene? Good, good. You ready to ride Philippe? Awesome. We're going to come up here, and Kaylee. Philippe's going to come up here, and Kaylee, as Lene's sidewalker, what she's going to do is she's going to counterweight the stirrup. So if you have an itty-bitty rider, you probably don't need to put much weight, if any, in the stirrup. But with a rider who's more adult size, you might have to put a little bit more pressure. What we're doing is trying to keep that saddle from slipping and putting extra pressure on Philippe's back. So as I go to get the rider on, you'll notice too that Kaylee's gonna help her offside leg to get down and into the stirrup without kicking Philippe in the bottom. Okay, Lene, are you ready? So she's going to help guide that leg down and into the stirrup, and we're ready to go. Okay, Lene, are you ready? Yes. What do you tell Philippe? Walk on, walk on. And Miss Kaylee is going to stay and walk right next to Lene. And we'll head into the middle to get that stirrup adjusted. What do you ask your horse? Whoa. Okay, so we're going to adjust Lene's stirrups. So as the Sidewalker, if you're comfortable in doing it, we would love to have you help, or the instructor or one of our lesson captains would, but I'm going to show you quick how to adjust this Western stirrup. So I'm going to take Lene's foot out, and we're going to put that foot up here out of the way. I'm going to slide this up, and we're going to go up one hole. And we're going to help her put her foot back into that stirrup. And notice her foot placement in the stirrup is right at the ball of the foot. It's not back here, and it's not way up here. If it's up too far, her foot's going to fall out. And if it's too far back, she's not going to be able to get that heel down and get the right balance. So we're going to get that foot in right at the ball right there. So we're going to talk about the two different types of holds that we would use. The first, Kaylee is going to do an ankle hold, which is right just at or below the ankle bone. If the rider would have a gym shoe on, you don't want to actually hold onto the gym shoe. You want to be just above the gym shoe, or you'll tend to pull the gym shoe off sometimes. So she's just going to hold right here. It's just a cupped hand, and it's just lightly supporting the rider. The next hold that we're going to do is a thigh hold, which is going to be up over the rider's thigh. And then depending on the length of your arm, you're either going to hold onto, like Kaylee is holding onto the saddle pad here, or if you have a shorter arm, you can hold at the saddle. But the purpose of this is to keep you, if you're doing a thigh hold, this rider needs a lot more support. And so you need to really make sure that you are staying with that rider. So if this horse goes to trot or anything like that, you're going along right with your rider by holding on to the saddle or the pad. And that's the reason behind that. This thigh hold you would only use on a rider that would have two sidewalkers. Reason being is even just with light pressure of the arm here, it does offset the balance of your rider just a little bit. So by having that sidewalker on the other side doing a thigh hold helps to keep that rider balanced. Kaylee's going to do an ankle hold down at the trot here. Notice that she's staying right with that rider, not getting behind or in front of, and she's holding right alongside next to. So if you guys want to trot down this wall, very good. Down this side, Kaylee is going to demonstrate the thigh hold at a trot. So again, she's staying right with her rider, but having that hold up high and holding onto that saddle pad is going to keep her right with this rider. So if you guys are ready to trot, let's go ahead and trot down this wall. Trot. Now we're going to walk you through some of the different activities that you may see in the lesson and what type of assistance you may be giving as a sidewalker to the rider. So at this particular activity, we're going to be stopping at the barrel. We're going to reach into the basket to get one of the toys, but what we're looking for in this activity is for the rider to cross body reach. So if we're on the right-hand side like this, we want Lene to use her left hand to grab one of the toys out of here. The other thing is you don't want to make this too simple for your rider, so you don't want to hold it right in front of your rider. You want them to be able to actually reach for it. So Kaylee is going to ask Lene to get one of the toys out of the basket.
All right, Lene, can you use the hand closest to Miss Mary? Grab something out of the basket. Good job.
Whoa, and pull those reins back. Whoa. Oh man, he went a little far. Could you ask him to back up? Back. Very nice. And whoa. Okay. So at this exercise, what I'm looking for today is for Lene to actually reach and stretch and get off balance and off that midline on the saddle. So we're going to have her, Kaylee's going to have her reach for a ring, and then she's going to reach to put the rings on Philippe's ears. Awesome. Good job, Lene. So this exercise, we're going to have our rider steer through the cones. So if our rider is still working on steering, and we're going to steer to the right or the left, and maybe she's not actually pulling the right reins, what you'll see is Kaylee helping with just a simple hand over hand. We're not grabbing the reins to steer for the rider. We're not grabbing their arm. We're just a simple hand over hand to guide, or a little tap to remind them that they need to use that hand to steer. So Lene, we're going to go ahead and steer through these cones. Remember, we want a right hand to right pocket, left hand to left pocket, and Miss Kaylee will help what she needs to, okay? So what do you ask Philippe? Walk on. Right here.
Steer to the right.
There you go.
No steer to the left. Steer back to the right.
So if there would ever be some type of an emergency happen within a lesson, if the tornado sirens would go off, all horses and riders would come to the front of the arena to dismount. Remember that dismounts are only done by an instructor or a lesson captain or anybody else that's specifically trained to dismount. So the instructor would guide you as to what to do. If there would be a tornado and we would have to get the riders off, then you would take the riders out and down to the hay storage area. If there would be a fire, kind of a totally different circumstance. So in that case, we would need to get riders off as quick as possible. Again, listen to the instructor's instructions. If at that point they're asking you to get riders off, then you need to do it, because it probably means we can't for whatever reason. But what you would do is get the rider off. Riders would go out the green gate at the side, and then you would head down the driveway to the entrance of the outdoor arena and stand there. The leaders would then follow behind with the horses and get them to safety. If a horse during the lesson would startle or something would happen and you would need to get that rider off quickly, we're going to demonstrate an emergency dismount. So I'm going to be the sidewalker for this demonstration. Philippe here, something happened and he's not happy, and we need to get Lene off of her horse. You want to make sure it's a one kind of fell quick swoop, but you want to make sure you're not standing with your legs together to get your rider off. You want a quick kind of step forward so that your legs are supported this way. It's going to be, so we'll go in and
pull your rider down. The emergency dismount, one of the biggest things you're trying to keep from happening is their head hitting the ground. So it's not necessarily graceful pulling them off, but you're protecting their head from hitting in a fall. So an emergency dismount is going to happen when a horse is actually startling for some reason. So let's say we have some really bad golfers from across the street, and a golf ball comes and hits the side of the arena, and the horse jumps and is kind of trying to run away from that. Then you're going to pull your rider off. If they just kind of move and then they're fine, the rider can stay on. But if that horse is not settling down, then we need to get the rider